Introduction to Classical Tibetan, Lesson 2-4. We've been through a lot of new material in the last couple of weeks, so let's take some time to review. Remember, all of the elements in a Tibetan sentence are either words or particles. There are only two punctuation marks in Tibetan: tsik, marking spaces between syllables, and she, marking a pause when reading aloud. Words are not separated by spaces. Syllables are separated by tsik. Nouns can be formed in a number of ways. One common element found in nouns is the addition of one of the ending particles, pa, po, ba, bo, ma, mo. Generally, but not always, pa, po, ba, and bo correspond to the masculine gender, while ma and mo correspond to the feminine. Similarly, adjectives have one of these 6 ending particles, but there are exceptions to this rule as well. Adjectives generally come after the noun that they modify, but they can also occur before the noun if they're joined by a connective particle. When we construct nominal groups, the order is as follows. You begin with a noun, then an adjective, then number, then demonstrative pronoun, and finally, the plural particle. Remember, nominal groups do not necessarily have all of these elements. For example, we can construct a nominal group with varying levels of detail. If we want to modify, say, the noun gompa, meaning monastery, we can add an adjective, gompa karpo, white monastery. To add even more detail, we could add gompa karpo chik, one white monastery. Modifying this even further, we could say gompa karpo chik de, that one white monastery. If we don't need to specify number, we could simply say gompa karpo de, that white monastery. Notice that the order of the nominal group remains the same regardless of which elements are present. We could even eliminate the adjective and just say gompa de, that monastery. Understanding the order of a nominal group is important when beginning to translate sentences in Tibetan. Usually, it helps to read nominal groups from right to left if you're having trouble making sense of things at first. Next, let's talk about particles. As we've already learned, particles are elements of grammar that indicate the main functions and relationships between different elements of a sentence. They're placed immediately after the words that they modify, and they can modify a single word or an entire nominal group. Connective particles are used to show relationships between nouns or nominal groups, adjectives, and/or pronouns. The spelling of a connective particle changes depending on the suffix of the syllable immediately preceding it. It's important to review these changes in spelling, which you can find in Lesson 2 of your textbook. There are 3 main uses of connective particles when they're placed between words in a sentence. They show relationships, which can usually be translated as of. They can join an adjective to a noun, and they can indicate apposition. Let's look at some examples. Changchup sempe tempa. You should know all of this vocabulary by now. We have 2 words here. Changchup sempa, bodhisattva, and tempa, teaching. These 2 nouns are joined by a connective particle. So, how do we translate this? Teaching of the bodhisattva, or more simply, the bodhisattva's teaching. How about this one? Kilkor ki la. Kilkor means mandala, and la means deity. So, the deity of the mandala, or the mandala's deity. If these nouns are reversed, we have Lai Kilkor. So what does this mean? the mandala of the deity, or the deity's mandala. Remember, work from right to left when trying to figure out these relationships. Let's try a couple more examples. Dzogpe sangye ki gopang. Now this phrase has two connective particles, so let's again work right to left. Gopang is level, then there's a connective particle, joining this to sangye, Buddha. So just this much reads, the level of Buddha. But sangye is connected to an adjective here, dzogpa, meaning perfect or complete. Now this adjective is describing what follows, so altogether, dzogpe sangye ki gopang means the level of a perfect Buddha. Notice that we need to supply words like the and here to make this sound better in English. This is fairly common when translating from Tibetan into English. Okay, let's try one more. Yunten tang dewa kun ki chungne. See if you can figure this one out on your own. Here's what each of the individual words mean, in case you've forgotten. Do you see what this says? The source of all happiness and excellent qualities. This should be enough to get you started on working through the homework exercises. Keep reviewing all of the material that we've been covering as we progress through the semester. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask on our discussion board.